Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the Maroon Friday edition of the Yard. A little bit later than I wanted to be. I got to get back in the habit of doing these things in the morning. I like to have them up by noon when I can, but with all the recruiting stuff going on baseball and football, sometimes the day gets away from me. And there's some guys I wanted to speak to, a couple of guys out at the MLB Combine. I have now interviewed everybody out there that's not a current player, right? All the signees that have been out there and commitments. And you can find those articles for free at genespage.com. And I wanted to interview them while they're out there, while things are fresh, right? I mean, of course, if they didn't have time to talk to me, they wouldn't talk to me. But I reached out and said, hey, I'd like to talk to you for a few minutes just about the Combine experience. And so we've had those over at Gene's page. And again, you don't have to be a member to go read those. You should be a member. You should be, because nobody covers Mississippi State as extensively as we do in the history of this university. And I find myself doing more the more. And now that I don't have an 80,000 word book on the agenda, I got a lot more time to work on the Gene's page stuff. And so, yeah, it's a good time too. It's summertime. I'm always looking for something to write about. And I'll show you guys real quickly. I had somebody reach out to me, and I won't say who because I don't want to embarrass them. But his mother is up in age. And she knew that she had an uncle that was a track star at Mississippi State. Much, much older than her. And she didn't have a lot of information. And so her son's like, hey, I know you're kind of a bit of a Bulldog historian. Can you help me here? And so to the archives and the Batcave we go, and I'm able to find about, a dozen articles about her uncle. And come to find out, not only was he a track star, for a while there, he held the SEC record. It was the SIAA, when he was a competitor here, held the record in the high jump. How cool is that? And I can tell you this, I don't know what it meant to them, but it meant an awful lot to me to be able to help them. And so on occasion, this summer, you never know. If you have a relative from long ago that maybe was a bit of a superstar and you don't know a lot about them, maybe hit me up. Maybe a good article for me and for your family. I'm willing to do that, because it's summertime. And once the book comes out, of course, book tour will be here. Football will be here. I won't have time to work on that kind of stuff. So you never know. Just hit me up and say, hey, Steve, I've always heard that my uncle or my grandfather or whoever was a great athlete at Mississippi State. Now, I'm not going to embarrass you, right? And I've had some people in the past that have said, hey, I understand it. My grandfather was a star player under the Duty Noble. And I go on to find out they didn't even letter at Mississippi State. So I'm not going to go write that article, embarrass you or your family. We will leave that secret between us. That's happened multiple times, just so you know. And I try to be as diplomatic about it as I can, And, sometimes, that's the thing about life is the older we get, the better we were, right? I can promise you that for all of you young people out there today, your dad was not nearly as good at sports as he claimed, and he didn't get as many women as he may suggest. I'm just telling you, it's true. I got some friends back home, man. If you wrote their life story according to them, it'd have to be in the comic book section. I mean, it's true. It's true. It's true. But nevertheless, I enjoy looking at our history and being able to share that with people, especially when you're like a situation like this. When you've got your mom is up in age and she's curious. What, was my uncle really as good as they told me? In this case, yes, he was. He was. And I plan to write that up in a few days, maybe one day next week. Let's get through the weekend visitor stuff because that takes up a ton of time, as you can imagine. That's one of the things I don't know that anybody fully appreciates. I mean, honest to goodness. It's not as simple. Like some Sundays, in my call log, it's like you text these guys and you don't get a response. You call them, it goes right to voicemail. And so you'll call back periodically, hoping at some point their phone is turned back on or charged. And sometimes they're on an airplane getting back home. And so, those Sundays after official visit weekends require a lot of time and effort. And we had a visitor this week, Dramata Odoms, that came in. He's especially difficult to get a hold of. Got a lot of people in the industry that have shared phone numbers and said, hey, good luck, man. He's got some people that are kind of keeping him out of the media while they figure this thing out. And that's part of it. That's part of the gig, man. It's part of it. It's what we sign up for. But you guys don't want that. You just want me to get you information. And that's what I have always tried to explain to my staff. You have to simply find a way. You have to find a way to get a person's individual and the good phone number. Now, the good thing is, we got 15 visitors this weekend. We got phone numbers on everybody, so we're not going to be scrambling come Sunday trying to figure this thing out. We got numbers on everybody, and hopefully we can get a connection and get you guys some updates on that. And I hope that it's a busy weekend commitment-wise. I don't think it'll be as crazy as last weekend, but we've got some pretty highly touted visitors on campus. We're going to preview that in the first segment of the show. Before I get into all of that, let me tell you this, and we're going to get into Bulldog Burger Company, and I'm craving some Bulldog Burger Company. I will partake in some Bulldog Burger Company at some point this weekend. But let me make you aware of this if you're not. Friday, July 26th, we're having the Bulldog Initiative Scramble, and you're going to have 18 holes of golf with Jeff Labby, Sam Purcell, Chris Simonis, Chris Jans. You'll have lunch, beverages, and there's even a dinner that night. You can be a part of that too, but there's a fee. But we're sponsoring a hole. True Rest is my wife's business, and we're committed to Bulldog Initiative. And I say that. I know there's a lot of NIL fatigue. I get that, but it's not going away. And so I'm going to encourage you, if you have a business, you're thinking about, hey, I'd love to be involved in all this. Let me encourage you to hit up the folks at the Bulldog Initiative, and you can go to the Bulldog Initiative website and be a part of this, and maybe get tickets and come to the dinner. You get something out of that, right? What's it, $105 a person? But you get something out of it. You get a night out there with all of us, and a chance to visit and kind of hobnob with your coaches. It's a very important event, and so I just encourage you to be a part of that if you can. Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of the show. I love Bulldog Burger Company. I do. I love Bulldog Burger Company. I loved them before they were a sponsor for the show. And one of the reasons that I continue to have a relationship with them is because the quality of the service only gets better. Only gets better. One of the things that I have learned, because I've got some inside information here, they mystery shop their own people regularly. It's because we're not just going to take for granted that everybody knows everything and does everything you're supposed to. And that commitment to service right there says so much about Bulldog Burger Company and the other restaurants in that great Eat With Us family. It's like, hey, it's not just enough for us to live off our branding. No, we're going to continue to strive to be the absolute best. And guys, you see all the stuff on Facebook around our state and around the country? Oh, well, this place, it's slipping, right? That's why Bulldog Burger Company and places like Harvey's and the Grill remain must-stop places to go eat. Is because the commitment to service, the commitment to excellence. There's not a lot of people that do that. I'm just going to call it for what it is. And the next thing you know, somebody has a bad experience, and it's everywhere. And there's a lot of people out there that have, social media coverage and courage when it comes to this kind of stuff. But I respect people that want to be better, even if they are at the top of their game. That's what you get from Bulldog Burger Company. Go in there, have a great restaurant quality hamburger, have the spring rolls as your appetizer. They'll make you and everybody else better looking. It's true. Go get a chocolate shake to go, maybe Nutella, maybe they get the special this week. They always have a little special, and when I'm in there and I'm in the mood for that, I'll jump on that too. 3 great locations to serve you: University Drive in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowood area. Yeah. Let them know. Go in there and put your feet under their table and say, hey, I'm here for a good time. And you'll get it. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. All right, let's spend a little time talking about this visit weekend. All right. You never know for sure who all is going to show up, but here's what we've got confirmed, right? And there's been some adjustments. There were a couple guys that were coming in this weekend. They're going to be pushed back to later dates, maybe in the season. And this is the last big official visit weekend for us. As you guys know, dead period starts next week. And that comes at a good time for our staff. As I've mentioned on the show, those guys have been running absolutely nonstop since the day they got here. with the exception of a little bit of a Christmas break, and they still had to recruit then too. Much different dynamic now, so they're going to get a chance to kind of, of course, take your phone with you, Coach, then they will. But they'll be able to kind of get out and spend some time with their families and get re-engaged. But this is a huge weekend for State. All right, so let's start at the top. LSU offensive tackle commitment Tyler Miller from Laurel High School. State's had some great success at Laurel High School in recent years, especially with offensive linemen. Miller kind of surprised us a little bit. I would never consider him maybe a Mississippi State lean at the time, but it really felt like State was in the top 2 or 3, and it really felt like it was maybe a matter of time before State kind of emerged. And he goes down to an event at LSU and he commits. He was originally scheduled to visit here, and he went to LSU, reshuffled some things, and he's visited Ole Miss. He's visited Mississippi State this weekend. I think LSU is going to really work hard to keep him. Now, I'm not calling a flip this weekend. I think Tyler is a guy that'll go through all this and absorb it. He's a very intelligent young man. He's not a guy that's going to make an emotional decision, I don't think. And again, he's already committed to LSU. But State and Ole Miss are going to be on him all the way to the end. He's just too good a player. 6'5", 315-pound tackle, and a great young man. If you ever have a chance to meet him, you'll be impressed. Now, speaking of great young men that surprised us, let's look at one on linebacker, Tyler Lockhart. He's set to visit Mississippi State this weekend. There was some noise right before he committed to Auburn that he might commit to Auburn, but I'll tell you, this recruitment is still, yes, he's committed to Auburn. This thing is absolutely far from over. Anybody expecting Mississippi State to give up on Tyler Lockhart is kidding themselves. Jeff Lebby is personally involved. Coleman Hutzler is personally involved in all this. Of course, Fat Clark and TJ Lockhart. I still believe in the end that he will be a Bulldog. I know that he's committed to Auburn now. I still think come December, Mississippi State's going to get him. Now, you don't want to go out there and fire all your guns at once in the summer and just kind of run your price up, on the NIL side. Never what kind of commitments you're going to have to make. And listen, it's a different world. We all know what we're living in now. But I think Tyler Lockhart is going to be a Bulldog when it's all said and done. Hey, if he flips this weekend, that'd be great. I just don't expect that. I don't think that's going to happen. Kamario Taylor is going to be in this weekend, of course, fresh off of the Elite 11. And the fact that he was even in the Elite 11 is pretty special. And didn't win the thing. We didn't expect him to, but very proud of him, and had a really good second day up there in 707. They got some praise to some national analysts, but it's a rarity for our guy to go to the Elite 11 finals. And the thing that everybody keeps talking about, like when I speak to people in the industry, they're like, these workouts aren't really built for him, right? I mean, he's not that polished pocket pro quarterback, right? Not that old guy of old, He's not. But when you add in, the run-pass option with a guy like him, and I don't necessarily mean an RPO design play, but when you give him the ability to get outside and make plays and extend plays, the guy's a game breaker. And I love his game. I can't wait to go see him play as a senior. We've known about him now for 3 years. And now he's Mississippi State's. And he's locked in, and he said from the beginning, it's a done deal. And we need him to help us bring some other commitments into the fold. Cortez Thomas from Holmes County Central helped lead his team to a 7-on-7 championship this year about a week ago. He is a guy that's been leading to Mississippi State for quite some time. He took an official visit to Kentucky. I'll be shocked if he's not a Bulldog. And it could happen this weekend. It could. Not going to say that's going to happen, but it's kind of like the whole thing with Hibbler. We thought Hibbler was going to be one that just kind of drug things out, and lo and behold, he goes, hey, I'm done. I'm committed to Mississippi State, and never really wavered. There was one little stretch in there that some people got in his ear and tried to get him to decommit. For about an hour, there was some concern that he may decommit, but of course that passed, once all the adults got involved, and he's fine. Matter of fact, I saw him last week out at the tournament. But yeah, Cortez is a guy that I've expected to be a Bulldog. I had a chance to go see him play last year in person against Indianola Gentry. Him and Gavin both are great, great young players. Really, really excited about him. Like his length. He looks like a college player now. I can only begin to imagine after a year in a college weight room what he's going to look like. So either he commits this weekend or commits later. I do believe he is going to be a Mississippi State Bulldog. Kevin Otis is a guy, defensive tackle out of Hattiesburg High. We've been expecting him to commit for some time. He is a Mississippi State lean. He had talked about making a decision at some point this summer. Could it be this weekend? Could it be this weekend? It's a possibility. Mario Nash Jr. from just down the road there at Kemper County. He's another guy. Mississippi State has been on him forever and a day. And even through the coaching change, I thought Cody Kennedy did a good job here. You know, we had some guys on him. All of a sudden, we make a coaching change, and Cody Kennedy just kind of slides right in and say, hey, we absolutely want you to be a Bulldog. He visited LSU last weekend, and, of course, they pick up another guard commitment yesterday, which I think could be a factor in this thing. I think that LSU likes Mario Nash, but I don't think that they love him the way that maybe Mississippi State does. For most of his recruitment, it's been a Mississippi State, Florida State battle. I don't count LSU out just yet. But I think the current commitment yesterday gives Cody Kennedy and the Mississippi State staff maybe a card to play. It's like, hey, you are our guy. You know, you've been our guy all along. We're not waiting to see who all else commits. We're all in with you. I wouldn't rule out a commitment to this weekend. Not expecting it, though. Mississippi State commitment, Tyshawn Willis. From the first time that I saw this kid on film, I loved him. I give Rion Young a lot of credit. You know, Rion, of course, helping us out on the recruiting side. Rion saw him at the state championship game last year, and he goes, you need to look at this kid. And just so happened he called me at a good time, so I pull up his huddle video and kind of take a look at that. I'm like, hey, this kid's legit. Then you see the numbers he turned in the state championship game. It's ridiculous. We expected him to commit for a long time. He finally did, and he's taking a real business-like approach to this. He hadn't done the big social media thing. He's not looking to play games, draw attention to himself. He's a small-town kid with real small-town values in that respect. He believes his word means something. Got 4 stars next to his name. State has 2 4-star commitments, and that is Kamario Taylor and Tyshawn Willis. And I think most people would agree Tyshawn is a dude. And this kid will hurt you. He will absolutely hurt you. All right, getting to some out-of-state players here. And this is I guess there's one more in-state guy we'll get to. But Jerron Johnson out of Bartlett, Tennessee, came to the elite camp here a couple weeks ago, ran in the 4.2s. Then he went to Tennessee's camp and just about replicated that. He ran into 4.3s there. You know, so it's not like, it's just a fast track at Mississippi State. When you got a guy that's run sub 4.4 at 2 different camps, 2 different whistles, 2 different watches, you feel like, you know what, there's fast and there's fast enough. This kid is really, really fast. Ole Miss hosted him last weekend. They appear to have a little bit of juice. State will look to kind of get even this weekend. And, of course, State picks up running back commitment. We'll talk about him a little bit later. It's been done for a while. Finally got around to the announcement yesterday. But Jerron Johnson could be the second back in this class. Now, we have 3 seniors. Seth Davis is working his way back. You can't expect that this year. I know that he's committed to coming back this year. I absolutely understand that. But if he can't come back in time to help us, you almost don't want to waste a year of eligibility on that. But, you know, we do expect Seth to be certainly 100% for 2025. But, yeah, you're probably going to take 2 high school backs and then a guy at the portal. That's probably how this thing shakes loose. And so, hey, if Jerron Johnson wants to get in the boat, your high school backs are done. Now, a guy that I really, really like, that I'm interested to see and kind of hear why LSU hasn't offered him. He's right down the road at Scotlandville Magnet. It's Furzel Shepard, 6'2", 175 pounds. You go watch his film, you're going to be fired up about this guy. Rated as the number 6 player in the state of Louisiana, 91, so he's a 4-star. But LSU hadn't offered him. Does that mean that LSU is just slow playing him and expecting to come back on him late? We've gone through that before, have we not? We get excited about a Louisiana receiver. He commits to Mississippi State. LSU comes in the final day or 2 and takes him away from us. Malik Neighbors, remember that? Even the night before signing day, the LSU insiders throughout the recruiting industry were saying, looks like LSU's not going to offer. And then LSU loses a commitment early that next morning, and they give that scholarship offer to Malik Neighbors. Tough, man. Tough. First, hey, Bulldog fans, let's just be honest about it. Just go ahead and put it on the line. Mississippi State folks and boots just go together.
That's why I'm so proud to partner with Tecovas Boots. In every pair of Tecovas boots, you can expect handmade quality, first wear comfort, and timeless Western style. A great pair of Western boots will elevate a casual look or add a refined flair that'll draw both eyes and compliments. Tecovas boots are always made from premium bovine and exotic leathers, and with occasional resoling, they will last a lifetime. The best way to shop for boots is at your local Tecovas store. I recently went into the one there in Rogers, Arkansas. It is absolutely fabulous. You'll be greeted by the smell of fresh leather and a friendly smile. Come on in, grab a cold one, get fitted by a pro, and shop the latest styles. Tecovas offers custom branding, leather stamping. If you want to personalize your boots or all your fine leather goods, as spring makes its way into summer, stay cool in a short sleeve, moisture-wicking pearl snap, or make your own shade with one of their classic straw hats. New in both women's and men's styles. Visit Tecovas, that's TECOVAS.com. And don't go gently, y'all. Just don't do it.
Zell Shepard, though, probably not on the level of Malik Neighbors, but this kid can really, really go. Really like him. Chad Bumpus has done a great job with him. And, we'll see how things progress. But I think Chad is going to get us in the mix with a lot of players that maybe we weren't on before. What I mean by that is, number one, Chad being from the South, having a working knowledge of the South and having recruited the South, he understands that programs like Scotlandville Magnet may not always have a great team, but they always have great players. And I think Chad is a guy that understands the language that these kids want to hear because he has credibility in the room because he's worn the uniform and played within this league. I think Furzel's a guy that could pop. I do. But it would worry me. We'd have to probably babysit that all the way to signing day. Very intriguing guy. Ramondo Johnson is a defensive end prospect. I don't know that he doesn't balloon up and move inside. He's already 6'3", 250 pounds. If you see the video of him, he doesn't have great length for an edge. I think he is ultimately going to bulk up and play 3 or 5 technique. He's committed to West Virginia. He spent some of his high school career in New Jersey, moved to Pompano Beach, Florida, if we could all be so lucky. Goes to Monarch High School. They have a handful of prospects this year as well. But this is a guy that's got almost 40 offers. Getting him in town is big. But it's going to be interesting to kind of see kind of what happens with his recruitment. I just don't have a good feel on it. I reached out to a friend of mine to get his number that has covered him that tells me, Steve, I just never know from one week to the next what's going to happen. He went to Rutgers. I thought he was going to commit to Rutgers. Ends up going to West Virginia, commits there. And it appears that he's a little bit impressionable. So this is one that may take some time to kind of figure out. Austin Howard, linebacker out of Bartlett, Tennessee, committed to Vanderbilt way back in the spring. He's visited Vandy, visited Ole Miss. He'll visit Mississippi State. He is a very academically minded young man. That's one of the reasons he committed to Vanderbilt. It wasn't just the fact that, hey, it's a chance to play in the SEC close to home, even though that's a factor as well. But Oxford and Starkville aren't too far from home either. He had a really good time at Oxford and Ole Miss last week, and so they feel like they've got a little bit of juice. Now State will get their turn this weekend. We'll see how things progress. Speaking linebackers, A.J. Rice, I absolutely love this kid's game. And this is one of those kind of guys, too, that even though he's not living in Mississippi, of course, his family's from Crawford, Mississippi, same place as the great Jerry Rice. But the reality of it is this. A.J. Rice will absolutely hurt you. This is a guy that was born to play linebacker. He can run, he can hit, tackles well in space. Very good early commitment from Mississippi State, the first of the class, as a matter of fact. And from the beginning, we knew that there wasn't going to be any drama with him, and there hasn't been. Davion Jackson, an athlete out of New Iberia. He can play either side of the ball. We're recruiting him as a wide receiver. Most schools are as well, but some people have mentioned defense. He is quick twitch enough he can do both. He's another guy, too, that came in for the spring game. Chad Bumpus offered him. I like his game a lot, too. And if you watch it, he is very physically advanced. A lot of these guys need a year in the weight room. I don't think Davion Jackson's one of them. I think this is a guy that could come in and challenge for a spot in the rotation as a freshman, especially considering how many portal guys we got this year, right? No telling how many we're going to take next year. But we have a ton of guys in the portal that'll be one-year rentals and kind of move on. And Davion Jackson's a guy I believe that can come in and compete Devin Ferris out of the Heights High School in Houston, Texas. Traded some messages with him yesterday. This is another guy with a ton of offers. A lot of people think he's just going to stay home and go to Houston, and he may. We'll see how things progress. But another offensive line prospect. And one of the things I like about this is like Cody Kennedy. It would be very easy to just say limit yourself to what's in Mississippi and then the border states around it, right? And you could probably sign 3 or 4 good linemen every single year. But I like the fact that we're not just going to go for good linemen. We want to go for the best. And we're going to go out here. Now that we've had our camp sessions and had all these guys in, we've got a pretty good pecking order of those guys. We're going to go deep sea fishing. And if we can get a big fish, we'll take them. And if not, we've got a pretty good understanding of what's available to us. Devin Ferris, again, the chatter is he's going to eventually commit to Houston. Maybe this weekend we can maybe put something on his mind. Mason Dunn, I absolutely love this kid's game. Mason Dunn from Tupelo, and I was disappointed when he committed to Ole Miss because I was hoping he'd be a Bulldog. When they came in, I was hoping to see him in action again, and he was actually at a visit to Memphis. But this is a guy from the very beginning we knew would be a State-Ole Miss battle. Ole Miss has him committed, so they have won. But now State's trying to fight back here and maybe get him flipped. I think this is one with Mason Dunn. Will probably go all the way down to signing day. Now, if he comes in, the visit's not good, he doesn't feel comfortable here, maybe a situation where you just kind of move on, right? He picked Ole Miss for a reason, right? And right now, a lot of people are like, well, Steve, it's NIL. And maybe it is. But the bottom line is this. There are some guys that are Ole Miss guys, and there are some guys that are Mississippi State guys. And he may be an Ole Miss guy. It may not be anybody's fault. There are some people out there that think we should always be able to overcome everything. Think about your own life. Would you have gone to Ole Miss? I mean, I'm not saying that to be critical of them, but there are just you just feel more comfortable at some places. And maybe these guys like the other coaches more. We deal with that all the time. I remember something that Butch Thompson said, changing sports with you a little bit. Butch said something a long time ago. He said, you recruit what you want, but you sign who you are. And that is absolutely correct. That's true in every sport. You go out and you chase all these big-time guys, and you offer them and you recruit them and you give them your best pitch, but you sign guys that are pretty much who you are and what you are because they're attracted to you because you're who and what they are. If you got somebody out there that's chasing the bright lights in the big city, they're not. They may take a visit here. They may come and get their picture made for the Instagram, or they may come for the dinner or whatever. But if their value system is different than ours, they're going to go somewhere else. And again, that's not anybody's fault. And again, there's some people out there that think we should be able to overcome anything. That is one thing that is almost impossible to overcome. I'm just more comfortable somewhere else. I'm just more comfortable with this staff. And somebody, well, let's just give him $25,000 more. Well, then you're going to have a kid that's going to blow through $25,000, and he's still not going to be comfortable on your campus. He's not going to be comfortable with your staff. Period. That's just not how life works. People, I could be happy for $25,000. I don't know that I could be, because that money is going to leave. Choosing a college, even in the transfer portal era, is still kind of a lifelong decision, right? The guys that are with us and stay with us, and the guys that graduate from Mississippi State, those guys are with us forever. They're alums of the university. They're part of the family forever. There's some guys that just come through. They're just kind of passing through, right? And you don't really feel that same connection to them. And they don't feel that same connection with us. And no amount of money is going to change that. It's important to understand. Important to understand. So again, 15 visitors expected this weekend. And we look forward to covering all these guys. I mean, the bottom line is this is, you got a handful of spots available. You got several, but you want to save some for the portal. Because again, we don't know what the roster attrition is going to look like postseason. You got some guys in here now, and maybe they're not going to work out. Maybe they're going to decide, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere else where I can play. I mean, especially with a new coaching staff coming in, it's like, hey, we basically flipped the roster last year and added over 40 new players. We don't expect to do that this year. But there could be some additional purging, right? There may be some guys that did just enough to kind of hang around. And now maybe you've recruited over them and they see the writing on the wall. And so you just don't know. You go out and sign the best players you can, but you cannot put yourself in a situation where you're going to have to walk away from kids that have been with you for a long time. You got to always be mindful of that. And we've had to do it. Other schools have done it. We're not immune from it. If you remember, after Chase and Virgil got dropped, and we didn't handle that well. I know some other people have offered some opinions. Let me offer some facts. We did not handle that well. When Chase and Virgil came to Big Dog Camp that year, it was apparent to everybody who watched that he was never going to play quarterback here. He wasn't big enough. He didn't have the arm strength, didn't have the accuracy. It was absolutely apparent to everybody. And I loved that kid. He was great. He's a great young man, and I'm glad he found a place to play where he was able to have a college career. But we knew that he couldn't play. And we waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. And then Brian Johnson went and watched him play. And Chasen had a terrible game. Absolutely terrible. Everything was a dink and dunk. He threw a handful of interceptions. It was terrible. And so that was the time for us to say, hey, Coach, listen, this isn't going to work out. We took him as an early commitment. We had him in camp. He didn't do well. We waited till he got into the season, evaluated his senior film, and I remember other people were reporting his numbers, and everybody was like, wow. And I went and pulled up a game on XOS, and I saw that he didn't throw a pass over 10 yards. And he said, yeah, when you're checking down and throwing screens and slip screens and things like that, yeah, your pass percentage is going to be high. But yards of attempt was abysmal. But we didn't handle it well. And instead of us telling him then, as we should have, Dan Mullen, Brian Johnson, as we should have, we waited. And then right before the week when he was supposed to come and he was an early enrollment guy, then we tell him, and then everybody's mad, and rightfully so. They had every reason to be mad at Mississippi State and our football program because the stewards of our program, the people that we entrusted to protect our branding and to move this university forward, failed this kid and failed the university because we thrust ourselves into some very negative national headlines because we were apparently too scared to tell this kid and his coach that he wasn't good enough to play here. It's true. You never want to be in that situation again. And I tell you this, I don't know Jeff Lebby well enough to know the content of his character, but I can tell you this, based on my interactions with Coach Lebby, I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think he is a guy that, number one, trusts his own evaluation. And said, well, just say, Coach, listen, it's not going to work out for us. We're going to have to do something different. I truly believe that. And I know that other coaches that have followed Dan Mullen, Joe Moorhead had to make some difficult decisions at times and drop some guys and probably should have dropped some more. And there were other times that he's like, you know what, I know these families, I can't walk away from this. But at times we had to. Mike Leach, it didn't matter to Mike at all. We could absolutely just cut a commitment tomorrow if we needed to. If we had a kid that couldn't play here, we were going to cut him. It's the nature of the business. But it's the more merciful thing to cut a kid as bad as it hurts him in the moment. Because that'll pass, okay? That'll pass. If you bring that kid in here because you are too big of a wuss to tell a kid or his coach the truth, you're doing that kid a disservice. You know he can't play here, but you bring him in, and now you're going to waste some of his eligibility, and you're just going to hope he leaves on his own. I mean, that's not leadership. It's cowardice. And that's happened at times. And so I think it's important to understand you can't get in bed with kids that you're not 100% sure about. You just can't do it. You can't take that commitment and you commit to them unless you know they can play here. Because if you come back later, I mean, you remember, the state of Texas is closed to Dan Mullen, and of course we went right back in there and signed their players. That does not erase the fact that we did a disservice to Chase and Virgil. Absolutely did. We absolutely did. And he went to Fresno State and had a really good career. But again, he couldn't have played here. In that league, he absolutely could. And good for him. Absolutely good for him. But that was one of the things. I've been doing this a long time. And that was one of the more embarrassing situations that I had to handle. And there was no way I could defend the staff on that. Because they did the wrong thing. So how do you defend the staff there? They did the wrong thing. And there's been some guys in the past that we've dropped. And I think maybe that other people have learned from that mistake. It's like, hey, as soon as we know, we need to tell them so they can make other plans. And I can tell you, we've had some coaches in the past, that we've had some kids that, and Mullen did some of this too, and maybe this was more BJ than Dan, I don't know. But we've had some kids in the past that wanted to transfer because they were down the depth chart. You have that exit meeting and say, hey, listen, this is where you are. He's like, Coach, I think I need to transfer then. That's back before we had a transfer portal. And Dan Mullen himself got on the phone and called other schools and said, hey, you guys need a safety. You need this. You need a offensive lineman. And he made calls on their behalf. And some of that happened even before the Chase and Virgil thing. And so that's why, again, I don't know all the internal dialogue about that situation. But our coaching staff, present and future, have to always protect the Mississippi State brand. And that's part of it. You cannot rip the rug out from under a kid a week before he's supposed to enroll. After his family's all decked out in maroon, they bought all their stuff and they're ready to go. And then you got to call them when you knew back in July at Big Dog Camp he couldn't play. And then you knew when you went and watched him play in November he couldn't play. You got to tell him in. You do. That's part of this being a grown-up. And sometimes the grown-ups fail. It's true. All right, time for today's Top 10 list. As always, brought to you by closewithblair.com. That's C-L-O-S-E with Blair, B-L-A-I-R. Blair, as in like Blair Chandler. Blair is our friend in the mortgage industry. Whether you're looking for a life reset, maybe looking to get a home for the first time, or maybe you've had your eyes on that game day condo, which may prove to be more affordable than you think, give Blair a chance to go to work for you. Give him a call or text today at 601-500-2344. Again, 601-500-2344. Blair is the guy that gets things done. 23 years of experience in the industry, top 1% close ratio in the country. Listen, you could go out there and you could find a lesser loan originator, but why would you want that stress? Just take one thing off your plate. And so, you know what? Life is so busy and stressful. We're having to relocate. We're having to buy a new house. Maybe we're graduating. Maybe we're getting married. Maybe I've been divorced. I don't know. I don't know your needs, but I know this. Life can be a lot easier when you let something that complicated be handled by an expert. That's Blair Chandler. He's one of us, multiple season ticket holder in multiple sports, has a place here in town, been my friend a long time. He will treat you right. That's Blair Chandler at closewithblair.com. Okay, I'm in a good mood today, even though it's late in the day. I got a busy weekend in front of me. I got to do some edits on the book. That's going to be the bulk of Saturday. I'll do a few baseball recruiting stories on Saturday and spend the rest of the day on the book. And then Sunday, it's on the phone all day with football recruits. Yeah, there is no day off. Like people put this stuff out, hey, no days off. I don't have to put a bumper sticker up by a T-shirt. I've got the work to show for it. I don't take any days off. It's rare that I don't write something. But I wish I could just take a day every once in a while and just lay in bed and, eat popcorn and watch Netflix all day. I guess there's nothing stopping me other than my own work ethic. But, when you love what you do, it doesn't feel like work. Some days it does feel like work towards the end of the day. But, sometimes doing this show is a lot of work because it's a lot of preparation. But here we are. And so sometimes we need a little inspiration in life. And one of my favorite bands of all time is not from the 80s. It's the band Shinedown. I've met those guys. I met them on their way up. And it has been so incredible to see them really become one of the headliners in rock music in an era that we don't have a ton of headliners. And Shinedown has kind of crossed over in many respects. They have some top 40 hits. They have the most number one rock singles of all time. Maybe you didn't know that. It's true. I've talked about it on the show before. And we've done some Shinedown stuff in the past, but I thought, what are some Shinedown songs of inspiration? Now, some of these have a little more of an edge. I didn't put Left Out on here. Left Out is one of those songs, like when I'm angry, I listen to. It's like, it kind of matches my mood. It's true, because I'm a firm believer in getting even for all the right reasons. There's not much better than revenge. It's true. It's true. I'm not saying anything you don't know, but that didn't make our list. It's true. But Shinedown songs of inspiration. Let's start at number 10. Absolutely love this one. And, it's Better Version. How about a better version of me? That's one of the things we go through life and there's transformative properties that happen in life, and you have to change. I didn't coin the phrase, but the only thing constant in life is change. And if we're not evolving, we get left behind. And there are sometimes we just get so old and set in our ways where it's like, I'm tired of changing. I'm just going to be a crotchety old man. I was talking to Bo Bounds about that yesterday. I said, I can't wait. I can't wait, to be that crotchety old man. It's true. Number 9, and this is one that maybe is not really faint of the heart. It was a single. It's a title track off Sound of Madness. And there's some lines in that song that really fired me up. And one of the ones, I remember being, when we were riding around, Ani was just a little middle school kid, and we were riding around listening to this song. And when the Sound of Madness came out, we listened to it nonstop. You put on track 1, Devour, and listen all the way through. And every song felt like a single. And there were a ton of hits off this album. It was really a breakthrough album for them. But when he gets to the chorus and he has that long, elongated note there where he goes, when are you going to fight? When are you going to wake up and fight? And then there's like a little bit of a fill in there. And he says, for yourself. And that's really the message in that song and really in life. You can sleep with a gun, but when are you going to wake up and fight? For yourself. That is everything in life. You have to fight for yourself. It's true. There is no search party being formed to save you, despite what you may think. No matter where you are, whether it be emotionally or physically, mentally, you got to fight for yourself. And the truth of the matter is, if somebody came and did it for you, it wouldn't mean as much. You have to fight for yourself. And I can listen to this song and still get chills all these years later. There have been times in my life I've had to put this song on to kind of get myself out of a bad mood, kind of remind myself that I got some kick and drive in life. Number 8, going back to the beginning, Leave a Whisper, man. That's when it all started for me. Fly from the Inside. And again, this is kind of in that same vein, right? There's so many things that happen in life, but if you're going to learn to fly, you got to do it from the inside. You got to believe in yourself. And it's like Mike Leach used to say, if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will. Then it's a sign to Bigfoot, right? It's true. There has to be a belief, and I say this all the time, and you can call it arrogance, you can call it confidence, I don't care what you call it, because I'm not running for office here. But if they told me tomorrow I was going to be the president of the United States, I think in about 60 days I could probably figure that out. Of course, I'd have my detractors. I've got them now. But I believe I could do a good job doing that because I believe in me. I believe in myself. I believe in betting on myself. I see all this people talking about this on social media, and they don't understand that. Just like, opening a new business. Pushed all my chips in the middle. Said, hey, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to bet on us. I'm not going to be scared to take risk. I'm not. I'm only going to go through this thing once, and that's the truth. And so one of the things that sobriety has taught me, because when I was much younger, I was just kind of okay to be good enough for around here. I was like, well, as long as I'm not at the bottom, right? Kind of like the old used car salesman ranking board, like, the guy at the end of the month, its last place gets fired. As long as I'm not that guy, I was okay with that. And as I matured in recovery, the thing that I learned is that I didn't just have to have an ordinary life. I could have an extraordinary life if I was willing to work for that. It wasn't going to be gifted to me. I mean, I wasn't blessed, with Brad Pitt's good looks. And I didn't have the talent of, say, Eddie Van Halen. I didn't have those things. And so I have to work. But I also got to look at myself in the mirror each morning, go to bed each night, and think about what did I do today to help somebody else? What did I do today to validate my existence on this planet? What did I do? And I get up every single morning. The first thing that goes through my mind, in addition to taking my dogs out to use the restroom, that's first. But I think to myself, what do I want to accomplish today? What do I want to do today? And I want to make every day an epic and productive day. Every day I wake up and feel that way. As soon as my feet hit the floor, hey, what do I get the gift of writing about today? Is it going to be football stuff? Is it going to be human interest stuff? Is it going to be baseball stuff? And it's so great when we have a game to cover. I was like, it's so great. Number one, I don't have to think about what to write. But number two, it's the privilege and honor of being able to go cover a Mississippi State sporting event, home or away. And I don't know how long all this is going to last. And so I'm going to do my best as long as I can. Number 7, this is a song that meant an awful lot to me even before it was a single. And this is off the Us and Them album. And I love that album. There are a lot of people that pan that album. They're like, well, it was just kind of okay. No, it wasn't kind of okay. It was great. It was great. And even Zach Myers, and I had this discussion before. He goes, that's nobody's favorite album. I said, Zach, some days it may be my favorite Shandon album. And part of it is this song, I Dare You. From the very first time I heard this, I got chill bumps. Because again, I'm a person who likes to challenge myself. And I'm a person too, even in this industry, long before I owned Gene's Page, and long before we did the Boneyard, and before all of this stuff, before I wrote books, anything. There are all these people out there tell me what I could and couldn't do. So many people. You can't do this, you can't do that. And I'm sure you have experienced the same thing. And there's a line in this song, and it gets me emotional sometimes when I hear it. Like if it just catches me on the right day, I'll even tear up when I'm singing it, man. It's true. Is you watch me become what you could never be. I get chills just reading that to you now. It's one of those songs that is just so incredibly inspirational for me because I think about all the detractors. Like when I got arrested and I went to rehab, I had all these problems in my life, and there's all these people that said, well, you know what? In many respects, your life is over. And I was like, no, it's not. No, it's not. You may give up on me, but I'm not giving up on me. And what's so funny, too, is like nowadays, those same people that were telling me who I was going to be and what I could be and try to put a glass ceiling over my head and kind of box me in and tell me I couldn't accomplish anything. This is my song to them, right? Where are you now? Probably moved on to somebody else. You're wrong about me, so you're probably out there running your mouth to somebody else because you're scared to try. So you don't want them to try because then they could prove the fact that maybe you could be something greater than you are today. So I Dare You, number 6 on our list, and this comes from Threat to Survival. I had a chance to see this tour. It was the Carnival of Madness tour in South Haven at the Lander Center. It was great. Got to hang out with the Colthorpes, great Bulldogs. And I remember when this song was played, I looked over there and I could tell Ed was feeling it, man. And it's cut the cord. I mean, how many times in life has something negative happened in your life and you're just kind of hanging on to it, hoping you can fix it? Some things can't be fixed. Some relationships can't be repaired. Sometimes you just have to walk away. And you've got all these negative people in your life. It's one of the things we talk about in recovery. Step one, we talk about powerlessness, right? I'm not powerless over a lot of things, but I am over many people, places, and things. I am not powerless over how much time I spend with those people because life is full of choices. And sometimes you just got to cut cord. It's like, you know what? I don't know if what down the road is better for me. I don't know if that's true. But I know this is not working for me. And I would rather be alone, or I would rather be out of this situation and have a chance at a new happiness than to stay here and be miserable. Absolutely the case. And that applies to business, romance, friendships, whatever. Sometimes you have to take negative things and cut them out of your life. Number 5, love this one too. And it's funny because the song itself has an edge to it. It's very aggressive, but it's really a song of empowerment for people that have felt cast aside. It's true. And it's bully. And this is from the Amaryllis album. And it's absolutely tremendous. And I love the part, like at the end when the kids are singing along in chorus. Yeah, we don't have to take this. And we don't. And it kind of goes along with Cut the Cord. The solution to many of life's problems are very simple. And I had a friend of mine, Benny Bruce. He told me this years ago. Benny, of course, one of the founders of the Molly Ringwalds. They were our opening band for a long time before they hit it big. And I see they're going to be back in Birmingham soon. Benny's no longer with the group. But Benny and Sparky and Nikki put that band together. And I think a lot of those guys. And one day when Benny was living down in Slidell and I was in Hattiesburg, and we were talking one day, and I was just kind of in a bad spot in my life. And I was like, this is kind of going okay, and this is kind of bad, and I wish I was doing this. And he goes, Steve, the thing about life is the solutions to so many of our problems are simple, and we have the power to change those things. We complicate them with our own feelings and fear. I've never forgotten that. And as good a friend as Benny was to me for a while, and I haven't talked to him in years, and that is an impact that remains with me to this day. And I share that so much, and I guess I should cite Benny Bruce, the founder of the Molly Ringwalds, when I tell you the solution to your problems are often pretty simple too. We're the ones that complicate them. We do. And it's usually with fear, because the fear of the unknown. It's like I'd rather stay here in my comfort zone with the devil that I know than go out there alone and try to do something different, even though this isn't working for me. It's insanity when you spell it out like that. But I owe a debt of gratitude to my friend, Benny Bruce. I do. Very, very talented guy. I could talk about him a lot. An incredible story, truly. Number 4, and this song has been on the radio, it seems like, for 2 years now. And it's been a number 1 hit everywhere it's gone in multiple countries. And a lot of people identify with this song, and you'll see videos of the crowd at Shinedown shows, and people are crying when they're singing this song. This song has never really moved me to tears, but it is a very emotional song, and it's a symptom of being human. It's like sometimes we're so hard on ourselves, right? And I'm one of those people. I beat myself up all the time. If I make a mistake, nobody could ever be crueler to me than I am. It's true. I hate making a mistake. I hate it. And sometimes you got to give yourself room to be human. But it's like this whole thing when Brent sings about, get your tickets to the lunatic ball, all my friends are going to be there too. I'm a little different. I'm cut from a different cloth. You know what? And there are a lot of people in my family that wish I was more like them. But I can't do that. I have to be uniquely me. And I'm going to encourage you to be uniquely you. And it's incredible the love you find when you love yourself. And you love yourself enough to be yourself. No matter what that is. I'm not here to judge anybody. But we're all experiencing the same human experience. And we just complicate things so much by trying to be people that we're not, to satisfy people that aren't going to love us anyway. All right, number 3. This is a song that goes way back. Way back. When I was working through all the flim-flam craziness, when I had so many people telling me, Steve, don't write this book. Don't tell these stories. Right here on this show, people would text me, Steve, I'm worried about you. Don't do this. I even had people that work with me to tell me this story is too big for you. Well, it wasn't. And I knew that it wasn't. And there were so many times when I would be aggravated or angry or I would need a little motivation, I would put this song on, and I would suspect that most of you Shinedown fans don't even know this one unless you're a big Shinedown fan like me. It's a song called Dangerous. I've had this on the show before, and the chorus, even to this day, gets to me when he talks about it. I will never be voiceless, ever. I'd rather be dangerous. And there's a line in there, too, that he talks about, I own my story, and I won't say sorry, and neither should you. That is the anthemic verse of my life. I know exactly who I am, what I have been through, and it's like, I almost snickered to myself when people try to bring that up and throw it in my face. It's true. I had some people, I'm not going to get too specific, but I had somebody else recently make a comment about my wife's business because of their hatred for me. Not that she's done anything. Not that they've ever even frequented our business. They don't even subscribe to the website. But because they hate me so much, and I have done absolutely nothing to them, they'd go out and try to attack my wife and her living. And so here's my message in response to all of that, is I'm not going anywhere. Ever. So you're going to have to deal with me. And if you don't want to, you can mute me on Twitter, But that's not going to stop all these other people that are around you from buying my books and consuming our content, listening to my show. So you got a choice to make. And that's not a we problem, that's a you problem. Because I love you just the same. Even though you've said all these vile things about me, I've never done anything to you. I guess it's all rooted in jealousy, It's true. But I love you just the same. And I want good things to happen for you in your life. And it's not just about being the bigger person. There's also a selfish component to this. I'm not going to let resentment and bitterness eat me up inside. I'm just not. I'm not going to do that. So while you feel like you've done something, and now you finally got a response from me, my response to you is that I love you. I do. And I forgive you for it. Because I'm not going to give you a reason to hate me. And if you hate me because of my success, and again, that's a you problem, not a me problem. But you can contact me whenever you want. You can. But I think it says more about you as a person that rather than come to me as a man, you went and tried to attack my wife's business. An innocent person in all of this. And so, yeah, I'm aware. I just tried to decide how I wanted to handle it, you know. Could have always just hopped in the car and drove along Interstate 40 until I found you. But I'm not that kind of guy anymore. That's not who I am. So, if you think you hurt me, you're wrong. I love you. Number 2. I didn't expect to say that today. This came to me. Number 2. I love this one, and this was the one that reminds me of Dana, speaking of my wife. This is the one that absolutely gets to me. And it's written by Eric Bass, and he wrote it to his wife, Eric. It's a guy that deals with chronic depression from time to time, and talks a lot about his problems through music. It's very therapeutic for him. And there are some lyrics in this particular song that I don't know if they're Brent's or Eric. I'm going to assume that it's Eric with probably a little smattering of Brent. But the song is called Daylight. And one of the probably the most profound things that I think has ever been written in a song is the line where he says, "It's amazing what the hard times can reveal. Like who shows up, who walks away, and who's for real." It's beautiful. I've experienced that. You've experienced that. All that's true. You find out who loves you when you need something. And the whole part about you saved my life, not once but twice. You keep me free from falling. I mean, I could preach on this song. It is one of the most impactful songs of my lifetime. When I listen to this song, I get such a profound sense of gratitude of what I have come through, what I've experienced, and what I deal with today, and what I get to live with every single day. It's true. And I suspect, even if you're not a Shinedown fan, I think if you put this thing on, that it will elicit some emotion in you because it is so incredibly authentic. Number 1, though, is Get Up. And that's from Attention. I really like that album. I like them all. I think Amaryllis may be my least favorite, but Attention was kind of back more towards the rock side, and it's incredible that even these albums that are more of a commitment to rock have had some songs that people have found very profound, and this is one of them. And this is really about when you're at your deepest and darkest moments, you put this song on. And that's what it's about. And Eric wrote about this. He said there was a time that he was suicidal, and it was like he was telling himself, get up, get up. You got to get up and get moving. You can't lay here and die. You got to get up. And he even talks about, there's a little aside in there. He goes, I don't know why I never talk about it. Perhaps that's the problem. And that's the truth. And I don't care if it's me, your spouse, your preacher, your AA sponsor, your therapist. Everybody needs somebody that you can be 100% honest with. Everybody. You got to have some people that you can tell your deepest, darkest secrets to and not fear judgment. And there's some people out there that have some incredibly twisted things in their hearts that they can't break free of because they think nobody understands them. I've been there. It's true. Many of you have as well. But the thing that I will tell you about life is we cannot live it alone and expect to have much value in it. It's true. When you're all bottled up and you get all those emotions running wild in you, I'm the kind of person that heals from talking. I guess it makes sense that I'm a writer and a public speaker and a podcaster and all that good stuff, right? Allows me to get all that stuff out, allow myself to heal. It's true. Every bit of that is true. And I got some friends, and I've shared with you guys before. I mean, like when Dan was out in New Mexico, and you guys heard it on the show, and some of you guys have joked with her when you've come to True Rest and floated. You said, I don't know that Steve would have made it any longer, And that's the truth. And that's the biggest part of it is like when I really got into a bad place, I worked my program, right? And whether you're in the 12 steps or not, or you're an alcoholic or whatever, everybody has to have a sponsor of sorts. You got to have some accountability friends. And I reached out to the 3 people that I respect the most, that I knew wouldn't go blab to everybody. I said, I am not well. I am not in a good place. I'm not going to drink, but I want you to check on me anyway. It's true. Because I had those thoughts of relapse in my head, because they always talk about an addict or an alcoholic alone is in bad company. And I was alone. And there's a difference between being lonely and being alone. Being alone was kind of okay for a while, but then I got to a part where the loneliness just beat me back every single day. Every single day. And so some days I would come in here and do this show just to kind of pull myself out of the funk. And then I would find myself doing the show, missing her and missing the life that I loved. And so it was very difficult for me. And this is a song that I listened to regularly. Well, when I was at my deepest parts of depression, and I was incredibly depressed, I would listen to this song. And it would give me just a little bit of a break from all that. And so I share that with you because this band is very special to me. You are all very special to me. And I just want you to kind of know that when you need some help, maybe some audio adrenaline of sorts, put on some of these Shinedown songs, and I think they may help you. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out and let us know. Best way to do that is to hit up Roy Samanti, my friend, and he admits he apologized a little bit late getting the list out, but he'll get caught up this weekend. He's our friend. We love him just the same. You can find Roy on Twitter at Dogmatic67. That's DAWGMATIC67. And you can find our great list on Spotify under that same handle. And as always, thank you so much for your support of the top 10 list and all your great ideas. We're going to try to knock some of those things out. Today, I called an audible. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. I love Campus Bookmart. Chances are you do too. And if you don't, you should. They've been serving this great fan base for years, getting better and better with their selection. You know, they moved the bully shop upstairs, gave them more room to give you more to buy. If you're looking for anything Mississippi State related, whether it be outfitting your fan cave, maybe it's a graduation gift, maybe it's a wedding gift, a housewarming gift, a gift for yourself. And Mom, let me tell you this, no matter what Dad told you, if you didn't get him some Mississippi State merch on Father's Day, he is a shade disappointed. He may not tell you that. I'm telling you on his behalf. So how about a little surprise gift? You know, the kids are going to be going on vacation. You know you got to get a couple of outfits for them too. You should always rep the brand wherever you go. Doesn't matter if you're going to Turks and Caicos or Biloxi. Always rep Mississippi State wherever you go. We're a proud people. We are. We're proud of you Bulldogs. And that's the thing, too, is you know when you go vacation, you're wearing state stuff, you automatically have new friends because other Bulldogs come up and say, hey, we're Mississippi State people, too. Hell State. I can't count how many times over the years that we're going through the line at Disney. I'm wearing my state stuff, and somebody walks by, Hell State. You're dadgum right, Hell State. Yeah, that's right. So be sure and check them out when you come to town. If you can't make it to town, visit them at campusbookmart.net. And by being a loyal Boneyard listener, we'll give you a phrase that pays. That is BSR, which stands for Beautiful Steve Robertson. That gets you free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than 75 bones, absolutely incomplete. Let's talk a little baseball recruiting here. And what I mean by that, we're not going to talk about portal stuff, okay? I have spent a lot of time talking to some of the incoming signees, and unbeknownst to many of you, we've got 5 signees out at the Major League Baseball Combine. Now, here's what I would say about that. And this will you'll say, Steve, don't be negative. I'm not going to be negative. I'm going to be honest, though. That's the thing that I've learned. A lot of people think if you're being honest, you're being negative, and there are a lot of people that are being negative and think they're being honest. Again, I've never met a pessimist that didn't fashion themselves as a realist. It's true. But if we have 5 signees at the MLB Combine, what does that say about our ability to evaluate and recruit players? I'll give you a second. What does it say? Because there's this popular narrative from the non-vocal minority that say, hey, we're not recruiting. And we had a discussion recently on Gene's page, and there's a guy that was talking about how we weren't recruiting well and then posted a link that where Mississippi State's incoming freshman class was 9th in the country. Sometimes you're wrong. And in this case, he was. And he was wrong quite frequently. This time it just happened to be a spectacular disaster. When you go out there and link something that doesn't support your narrative. And so now all of a sudden I've interviewed all these players and they're all at the MLB Combine and people are like, well, Steve, are we going to lose them to the draft? Well, wait, What? What? If we're not recruiting well, why are we worried about losing to the draft? Because apparently we just got a bunch of scallywags and nobody wants. And so I share that because I think it's important to understand Mississippi State is recruiting well. Can we recruit better? You better believe it. But to sit here and act like we're asleep at the wheel and not doing a good job, that's just disingenuous. It is. But as I pointed out today, many of the same voices trumpeting that are the same people in preseason that said we weren't gonna have a good year. We're gonna be terrible. We're gonna fire the coach at the end of the year. That's what they said. Then they said, well, we opened the month okay. We got non-conference is okay, but we didn't play anybody. And then what do you know? Air Force wins their league. Evansville goes to a super regional. Oh, we forgotten that? Yeah, I didn't. I still have the receipts. We're not going to do an SEC play. And what do? We take the defending national champions down the very first weekend of conference play. We actually had a winning record against teams that went to the Supers. And then we played in a regional that most people said that we wouldn't make. And we're in the hosting discussion all the way up until the last day. And now, well, we're not recruiting well in the portal. Our high school recruiting leaves a lot to be desired. And so, yeah, listen, you guys have heard me say it before. I want us to be feared. I want everybody that looks at us on that schedule and says, well, that is a lost weekend. We just got to hope to get one. I want that. I want to have that type of prestige again. It's true. I know you feel the same way. And the way to do that is players. We have to have the players. And you know what? We talk about this team. Did we underachieve this year or overachieve? I would say we probably overachieved considering some things. But when I look back and think about, hey, we're probably going to have 2 first-rounders on here and we didn't get to Omaha at any point in their careers, yeah, I think that you look back and say we probably could have done and should have done more. I think all those things can be true. This team had some flaws. And some of those things could have been and should have been corrected. We had some other guys, too, that weren't as good as we needed them to be. Sometimes we forget that aspect of it, right? And it's funny, too. I mentioned this on the message board earlier today. Some of the main people that are complaining about portal recruiting didn't even know the players' names until they committed. And so I just encourage you, don't engage in that nonsense. It's like I would venture to say, okay, well, you give me the names of the top 10 players in the portal. No, don't go look it up on D1 Baseball. Don't go look at the analytics. No, you give me your top 10 guys in the portal right now. And I would venture to say that many of them couldn't do it. And there's a lot of people out here that live for internet credibility. It's true. We got some people out here that are message board posters on a byline, in our industry. And so I am never going to be a guy that writes based on the tenor of the moment. Because I try not to be I get caught in it sometimes too. I remember when I was on press row at A&M and we're getting skull-drugged by a third-team transfer portal quarterback at A&M. I went on my message board. I said, this cannot continue. You all felt the same way. And I'm a guy that tries to use some restraint. But I remember thinking that week, we had a chance to go down there and get that win, put us in a situation, maybe get to a bowl game. But let's be honest about it. Even if Zach Arnett had made a bowl game, it was not going to work. We wanted it to work. It wasn't going to work. But it takes a lot to get me to that point. Other people are different. There are some people, they just ride the wave. I can't count how many times that I've seen people have to go back and delete tweets. I remember LSU, that Sunday game down at LSU in 2022. We got behind in that ball game. I remember thinking, well, at least we got one. The next thing you know, we mount a comeback, and there were some people that had tweeted out some things that miraculously disappeared when State began their comeback. And, of course, we win down there. Slade Offer with a big home run. Dakota Jordan with one off the scoreboard. And my thing about that is just leave it. Don't go delete it because you don't want people to shove it back in your face. If that's the risk that you're running, you shouldn't tweet it in the first place. It's just like we talked about this recently about the Dakota Jordan thing. Dakota Jordan led us in every offensive category. And some people just wanted to focus on strikeouts. To me, that says more about them than it does Dakota Jordan. And you said, but Steve, it's a facts-only thing. It's also a fact, too, that he led us in home runs, doubles, RBIs, hits, and average, everything else. But why is that ignored? Why do we not tell the full story? You know, those are the things that I think about. Now, looking ahead, I had a chance to talk to some of these guys. And as we record this, the Perfect Game Baseball has announced their 2024 high school All-American teams. Mississippi State had 4 players, 3 seniors and a junior. Braden Booth from Bob Jones, Alabama. I'll speak to him soon. First team high school All-American. That's pretty impressive, too. Congratulations, too, to Connor Griffin of Jackson Prep. He was a guy that State pursued. He ultimately committed to LSU. Will probably be a very wealthy young man here in about 4 weeks. P.J. Morlando, a former Mississippi State commitment, also first team. And so, again, you know, I'm just kind of pointing it out here. Second team All-American, you know, we get through this here and you start looking and we don't really have anybody on this one. However, you get to third team high school All-American and there's Charlie Foster, the brand newest member of the class, if I can get it out. Pitcher Charlie Foster, former Georgia signee. And people say, Steve, how is that possible? Well, he asked out of the letter of intent, and I'm told there was some things that were promised, you know, financial aid wide or NIL, whatever, and all the details that did not materialize. And so that becomes a trust issue, doesn't it? I mean, like when somebody makes you a recruiting promise, they don't come through with it, you got to figure it out. Now he's headed to Mississippi State, and he's a high school All-American. Third team high school All-American, and then, of course, also Dante Nori, a third team All-American. And Dante's interesting. I had a chance to speak to him yesterday. I've spoken to Charlie, of course, and then Kate O'Leary, Dante, Conrad Kaysen. You can go read those stories for free. Put up Lucas Buckner earlier today, part of one of the greatest teams in the country this year on the high school level. Had a chance to speak to him. And so what's interesting talking to these guys, you know, it's like right now all these guys are planning to come to school. Now, Dante Nori's situation is very interesting. His dad is Micah Nori, a longtime assistant coach of the NBA, now a candidate for a couple of head coaching jobs. And so his situation is not, I mean, money is always a factor, but in his situation, it's not as big a factor. Not to mention that his dad played college baseball at Indiana and was actually the captain of the team. And so he understands the importance of the college experience. He also understands how professional sports work. So Dante has been blessed with a built-in infrastructure through his dad that understands both sides of the coin. That's important to understand. And Coach Nori also talked about, you know, hey, the good time he had in college and said, hey, but if I didn't have, if I'd been able to hit the breaking ball, maybe I had a pro career. And then lo and behold, he gets a job coaching his way up. And now he's one of the hottest names in the country for head coaching positions in the NBA. And so I shared that with you because Dante Nori is not some kid living in a double-wide trailer in a trailer park outside of Pelahatchie, Mississippi. In all due respect to those people in Rankin County. He's not in a situation where he's going to feel this sense of obligation that I've got to go sign a pro contract to better the life of my family. Not just myself, but to take care of my family. And there are a lot of young people that feel that. That's unfortunate, but that is the way of the world. So Dante is not going to sign for peanuts. And we talked about that yesterday. You know, he is going to do what is best for him. Now, if he gets life-changing money, he's going to sign. But there are some people in his family that are encouraging him to come to school to have the college experience. And he would also be draft eligible as a sophomore. So it's not like he's got to come down here and play for 3 years. And you know, he's also a guy, too, that would probably be your starting center fielder on opening day at Mississippi State if he came in. This guy is legit. And people say, well, what's the comp? What's the best comp? Is he like Jake Mangum? He's closer to Dakota Jordan than he is Jake Mangum. He's 5'9", you know, so he doesn't profile like a lot of those guys do as corner outfielders, but he is a guy that's really fleet of foot. If he comes to Mississippi State, he may be the fastest 60 time that we've ever had in the history of the program. But no, I've seen some people out there saying, oh, he's gone for sure because MLB.com has him as their 49th prospect. Well, all they're doing is ranking prospects. So that's not the probability of those guys signing. But even with that, if he ends up being a third rounder, or if he doesn't get, first round or maybe midway through the second round type money, I think he's coming to school. It's just going to depend on how the world breaks out. But again, they're not going to be able to exploit this kid. And that's really the point that I'm trying to make here. They're not going to be able to and say, okay, well, listen, we'll give you $2 million. And I've had 2 Major League Baseball scouts tell me if he comes back and plays 2 years of college baseball and he performs to expectations, he'll be a top 10 pick in 2 years. We had this same discussion about Dakota Jordan 2 years ago. And there are people that said, hey, he could sign a contract right now, but if he goes to Mississippi State and plays 2 years and performs well, he'll be a first rounder. Now he's projected to be a first rounder. And that's one of the things that I think Chris Simonis and his staff, when they have a chance to sit down with him again, can tell him. Look at what happened to Dakota Jordan. Look how much more money he's making today by coming to college for 2 years. That's very, very important. Now, Conrad Kaysen's a guy that a lot of people told me he kind of slipped a little bit in the draft. Down the stretch, his senior year wasn't exactly healthy, but he had a really good combine. And so now all of a sudden you start thinking, okay, he's fine, to thinking, okay, maybe we need to be a little concerned here. A lot of people see him as a pitcher, but he is a guy, too, that can swing. Now, if he comes to Mississippi State, he got a chance to be a two-way player. And that's one of the things you think about in your pitch on the developmental side. It's like, hey, you come in here and you can swing the bat a little bit, and you can pitch, and you can show pro scouts that you can hit the SEC-level breaking ball. You can show that you can hit with power, and he's another big, robust kid, too. There's no jokes with this kid, and he is so incredibly mature. I talked to a lot of young people throughout the year in various sports. Very few are as polished as Conrad. At the end of the interview, he thanks me he says, hey, Mr. Steve, thank you for this. Thank you for this. I'm sitting there thinking, are you kidding me? You're the guy at the MLB Combine. Our people are just wondering what's going on with you. He's like, thank you for doing this. You're writing a story about me. And I hang up the phone, and like 30 seconds later, I get a text. And it's from Conrad. He goes, hey, I just want to say thanks for your time and your interest in writing a story about me. Guys, you win with those kids. And I don't just mean baseball games. You win at life with kids like that. What a great job his parents have done, his family has done, raising him and preparing him for life. And he is a guy, too, that physically needs to mature a little bit. Again, he's good, but it wouldn't hurt him to come to college for a couple of years. And so there are no slam dunks to go pro like there was with Jet Williams a couple of years ago. We all knew that Jet was gone. There was no question about it. Of course, he gets drafted in the first round because they're already telling teams we're going to sign. Everybody knew it. So this is a different dynamic this time. There's a possibility you get them all. It's true. And it's all going to boil down to how they're drafted. And one of the things that I think helps us tremendously is there are a lot of people out there that are forecasting that there could be as many as 19 college hitters drafted in the first round. That's two things. It pushes high school hitters back, unless you're Connor Griffin, farther back in the draft, which lowers the slot value. But it also says, hey, look, come to college. You can break down where all those guys profiled out of high school and then show where they are today and look at the difference in the income. It's tremendous. And that signing bonus means everything. It absolutely does. It gives them a head start at life. But you want that signing bonus to be as big as it can be. And you know what? If you come in here and invest 2 more years of hard work, it might double. That's the Mississippi State pitch there. Kevin Manel, talked to him today too. He's a lot of people think he is a top junior college pitcher in this draft pool. He's also signed with Mississippi State. I actually missed his name when I was working through my list here. Missed him. And now you go back and look, and I get him on the phone. I broke his commitment when he committed, and so I got him on the phone, and he's excited, man. And we talk about being prisoners of the moment, right? When you talk to guys at the MLB Combine, I mean, they got lights in their eyes. They do. And the fact that guys like Conrad Kaysen can say, you know what, hey, I think I'm really pursuing the academic route. Charlie Foster's like, you know what, my parents really want me to go to college, in the middle of all that stuff. And you got to wonder, hey, are they putting this out here publicly as a negotiation ploy? You know? But talking to MLB scouts, a lot of people tell me that Charlie and Conrad are coming to school barring something completely unforeseen. But Dante's a guy we're going to sweat out, and I think Kevin may be a guy that we have to be a little careful with too. You know, that's part of the deal. So I shared that with you because I'm going to continue to through the weekend, early in the next week. Before these guys, these high school kids are supposed to report on July 5th, and you know that's ahead of the draft. So if a guy comes to school and enrolls and moves into the dorm or the apartment or whatever before the draft, you can feel pretty good that they're going to be here. They're not going to pack up and leave. You know, Mekhi Grant did that. You're like, oh, what a relief, right? The guys that don't move are going to probably sign unless something just doesn't go their way. And I'm glad that Lamonis and those guys are doing it. Get those guys here for summer school. Let them start hanging out together in advance of the draft. It makes it that much easier to stay, right? It's true. So July 5th is when the high school guys will get here. The junior college guys will get here in August. I'm not exactly sure when the portal guys are going to enroll. That's all being figured out. But it's important to get the high school guys here. And that's an unappreciated part of this process that I think your staff's doing a really good job with. All right, last segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. I love the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. You will too. I've had some friends stay there. And guys, I've had a lot of people that hit me up and say, hey, Steve, how do I get a hold of these people? It's very simple. Very simple. If you have questions, go to their Facebook page. Just Google Stark Vegas Clubhouse. And if you've got questions, after you've seen all the amenities that are available to you, they'll be very responsive to you. Great people. These are Bulldog people. People that I've met, spent time with. I don't just do business with anybody. I would never endorse a business to you that I didn't believe in. I believe in these folks. I do. I've been out there and toured the property. I've had some friends that have rented it. I've gone out and visited. It's great. It's the old renovated, country club house. The clubhouse itself, it's great. 5 bedrooms, 2 baths. You've got that great wet bar. You got a full-service kitchen. That great back porch area. I can't oversell that. I'm a guy that likes to sit outside and just kind of visit with my friends. Maybe put some music on at a low volume. Just kind of put some stuff out there and just kind of chill. And you know what? Maybe if you need to have a private conversation, you can fire up the fire pit and go out there and sit around the fire. Even in the summer, fires are cool. You just can't let them get too hot, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, there's something about summer nights at a fire out in the country. Just 5 minutes from the Mississippi State campus. I recommend this, and I've had some people that have reached out and said, you know what, Steve, I think it may be a good idea. If you can't afford the big summer vacation this year, or maybe you can, maybe you've just got it big, why don't you bring everybody in? Bring in your college friends, maybe some high school friends, maybe you're getting married soon, maybe you're going to have a baby soon, and you just want to get everybody together before life gets really crazy, right? What would be better than having everybody under one roof? Have breakfast together, DoorDash some food, I don't know, fire up the grill, whatever you want to do. What would be better than that? Think about it, folks. A staycation right here in Starkville. And maybe you just want to come to Starkville and hang out because every time you're up here, it's game day and it's a little hustle and bustle. And maybe just come up here to your favorite little place in the world and have some of your best friends meet you here. Maybe make it a couples weekend, guys weekend, girls weekend. I don't know your needs. Running the Stark Vegas Clubhouse can fill them. Now, when you Google, some booking options are going to come up, VRBO, Airbnb. But if you choose the Evolve website, I'll give you a promo code to save you some money. It's BSR10, the number 10, BSR10, gets you 10% off your stay. And if you got trouble with that, you hit me up. I'll do what I can to help you. Or hit the people up at Stark Vegas Clubhouse. They'll know too. It's a great place to stay. It's a great place to just kind of have everybody around. We talk about this all the time. Family is everything. Friends are everything. And togetherness is everything. And maybe we can't get everybody to go to Turks and Caicos together. Maybe everybody can't get down to Biloxi. Maybe you got small kids, think about it. Bring them too. Everybody have a great time at the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. All right. Let's talk about what's ahead of us. We got the official visit weekends, and we have had official visitors on campus for baseball as well, some portal guys. And so a lot of people are asking, well, Steve, when's the next portal commitment? Well, I can't put a time frame on it. Right? I'm not involved in the process, right? That's important to understand. Like, It's not like in football. Like a lot of times football guys will kind of coordinate with us. It's just kind of how things work. But you just never know when these guys are going to make up their minds. And we're coming off a dead period. Last weekend was dead. We had guys before the dead period, and we've had some guys in this week too. And so we expect there to be some news next week, maybe this weekend. I don't know that I would expect it this weekend, but I never rule it out. There's some guys out there that are taking visits. They've been in here. They're going to go other places this weekend, and they're going to begin to make a decision. But you got to think, these guys are not on our time frame, right? These portal guys may not even enroll till August the 1st. And as I shared with you guys earlier, Braden Montgomery, I didn't think he'd make his decision until July the 11th. And so you start thinking, we got 3 more weeks of this. Probably. Yeah, probably. But I think it's important to understand we're on some big-name pitchers. We are. And like, Steve, I want to know. Well, let me tell you one of the reasons that things are a little more secretive than you think they should be. Back when we were recruiting Paul Skeens, some of you kind of joined the recruiting process. And people started not just tweeting at Paul Skeens, but DMing him and people around him. And I understand how well-intended that could be. That did not help, okay? It's important that fans just kind of stay out of that. And that's one of the reasons, I'll be honest with you, that I've been so secretive about some of the stuff, is because of the fact we want to avoid a situation like that. Because you never know who's involved with all this kind of stuff. There are people out there, we have to have you. It almost just makes us seem desperate. We talk about we want to blow up our chest and be Mississippi State baseball. Let's blow up our chest and let our coaches do the recruiting, right? Not you. What do you think that you could possibly say to sway? And it's embarrassing. I'll be honest with you. It's embarrassing. And so it's important that you know that. And I know some people are going to listen to the show and like, I never knew that. Well, I'm not saying it cost us. I think he was going to go to LSU at the end anyway. Because he had a chance to go compete for an AFL championship, and they knew it. They had a really good team coming back. You had Wes Johnson coming in, a guy that obviously is coached in the big leagues and knows how to develop pitchers. And so Wes Johnson being at LSU was a big deal. The fact that he could just be a PO and not have to catch there was a big deal. And so we were already kind of up against it. And we worked really hard, and he had a great visit here, and he left here, and he said all the right things. But we don't need fans involved in the process. We don't. We absolutely don't. And that's important to understand. And so it's kind of hanging there with us. I think next week's going to be a good week for us in the portal. And, there's some of these decisions, too. It's like, I got a lot of friends in the industry, and it's like, hey, it looks like this guy's trending your way to Mississippi State. And then the next time I talk to him, it's like, well, hey, they visited Arkansas. And so now it's kind of 50-50. And then the next time I talk to him, it's like, well, now he's going to visit LSU too. So there's Tennessee coming up. There's all this stuff that happens. And so it's a very fluid process. What's true today may not be true tomorrow. But what is true is that we are Mississippi State. And I think all of you would agree that Justin Parker, one of the best hires we have ever made in any sport. And he's kind of center stage right now. And Justin Parker doesn't need me or you or anybody else to be involved in recruiting pitchers. And that's really where we are right now. There's a couple more spots we're looking at. But by and large, what's going to happen the rest of the way is pitchers. And everybody would agree, arguably, one of the best things, if not the best thing about Bulldog baseball this past year has been Justin Parker's influence. And if that's true, and if you believe that, then you should have confidence in the fact that Justin Parker will deliver. Justin Parker will find guys that fit what he wants, and those guys want his development. And so I give you that as a little voice of reassurance here. If Justin Parker is as good as we believe he is, and I think we all are in agreement that he is outstanding, and we've all said at the beginning of this process, I want whoever Justin Parker wants. I still feel that way. Whether it be a name that you know or a name you don't. The work that he did last year has earned him a measure of grace from this fan base. And if you think that Justin Parker doesn't have a good sales pitch, if you've ever been around that guy, outstanding, right? That guy is going to deliver good pitchers for you. So just relax. Take a deep breath and relax and understand Justin Parker will deliver on these pitchers. And then on the position side, again, there's probably one or two more spots. We got to get a first baseman. We have to. We'd like a left-handed power-hitting first baseman, and maybe you get an outfielder. I think you got to get some clarity on Dante Nori, and then you may have to go get an outfielder. And some people suggest maybe you need to go get two. I don't know if that's really the case. With Bryce back next year, Dante comes, Nolan Stevens and Wright. I mean, you could use a fourth outfielder. You can never have enough. But I think if you get clarification, I think if Dante decides, hey, I'm going to come to school, I think then that need is not nearly as emergent because this kid's legit, absolutely legit. But have some faith in Chris Lemonis. And if you can't do that, have some faith in Justin Parker. I've got faith in Lemonis, and I have faith in Parker. And I know that the bulk of our remaining spots are pitchers, and Justin Parker knows how to evaluate, knows how to recruit, knows how to develop. And that's going to ultimately bring the pitchers that we need to be the team that we're going to be next year. Fair enough? If you haven't done so, go to whenthebottomfalls.com. I tell you what, no, you don't do that. You can do that too, but Duty Noble Book makes it easier. Go to Duty Noble Book, and you can get When the Bottom Falls and all my sports titles there. And we'd love for you to come float. It's a busy day today, busy day tomorrow, but there is some availability early next week. With the kids not in town, we do have more availability. So if you've been thinking about, hey, I want to get in there and float and see what it's all about, dial 662-268-7601. I'm going to get in there and float this weekend too. There's a lot of times I'll open up in the day and I'll say, hey, babe, what's the schedule? I was like, okay, well, I'll go in there like 7 or 8:30, and then a little bit later she calls me and says, like, hey, I got 3 floaters now at 7. And I go, well, all right, I'll just go tomorrow. And the next day it's like, So I need to put myself on a schedule because I got to go float. I haven't floated in a couple of weeks. I wanted to finish this book. But listen, I love all of you. Whether you love me or not, I'll defend you even if you don't defend me. That's the kind of friend that I am. It's how I feel about myself, right? And I hope that you guys feel the same way about the people that you love. So until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.